Welcome back to the channel, fellow aviators. In this episode, we are continuing on with our real airlines flying real routes, flying for Loganair up in the United Kingdom. We're currently located up in Benbecula, which is, I believe, Nowheresville, Scotland. And we're heading back down to Glasgow. As you can see from the instrument panel, I have switched over to the Duke Turbine version. There is a little bit of a difference, obviously, in the starting technique. If the piston version is a lot of touchy-feely, manipulate a little bit of stuff, add some fuel, hopefully not too much, maybe too much. When you move over to a turbine, it's very procedural driven. And so I thought in this episode, we would just go ahead and go through the startup sequence, show you what things you might want to look for, and a couple tips and tricks I have kind of learned along the way, mostly the hard way. So the very first thing we're going to start off with is the pre-flight. We are just going to come down here and go ahead and take our control locks off. We'll actually remove the yoke to make sure we can see everything. We're going to make sure that the brakes are set. We're going to look over to the left, make sure all of our switches are off down at the lower end of the panel. We're going to come over and check oxygen supply. It's going to be kind of hard to see, but let's see if I can unpause this. It's going to be right there. And you're looking between 1550 and 1850. We're going to come over and want to look at all the circuit breakers. Let's go ahead and remove this yoke as well. And on my last flight, I did see one pop. So I believe that's also part of Black Square's attention to detail reality is pop circuit breakers. I found one. So this is definitely, you might want to definitely check that out. While we're over here, we can check the supplemental bleed air and the cabin pressure shutoff. Those are in the open position, actually, so fully pushed in. I'll circle that right now for you guys so you know where to look at. Also, while we're over here, we can look at the alternate static source, and you can see it's guarded and in the normal position. I'll maybe make sure I can point that out. And once again, while we're over here, we'll go ahead and check the CO2 detector. So as I'm also, let me just interject real quickly. As I'm doing this checklist, I did definitely skip a couple parts. If you look at the advanced checklist, there's like, seatbelts are fastened. There's a couple other stuff in there. I just really want to make sure that you're looking at all the stuff that you would really need to do. All right. From there, we are going to make sure our flaps are up, and we will just use this view down here, and you're going to make sure that, let's exercise everything, make sure that the condition levers are in the shutoff position, the props are in the high RPM, and in this sim, which I've noticed, at least for I probably haven't mapped it correctly, but I just want to make sure these will actually kind of start in the reverse position. And then one last thing, we'll come down and look at all the trims. We have aileron, say that 3 times as fast, rudder, and pitch. Make sure that they are all in the green or in the centered position. And then the last thing we want to look at there, right at the bottom there, is make sure our fuel selectors are in the on position. Every time I've come out to the aircraft, they have been on. But once again, it's Black Square, so I guess there's probably a chance that, in fact, they could be off at some point. All right, coming back up here, we'll just look down real quickly. We're going to want to make sure our beacon is on. Done that. And then we're going to come over and turn the master battery on. Power everything up. All right, from there, we want to come down. Once again, we'll look. I'll try to kind of point some of this stuff out, but we're going to want to make sure that our fuel quantity checks, which it does. And we'll come up here, do the annunciator panel. You can either use this button or this. It's the same thing. I'm just going to light everything up. Then we'll probably kill those. All right, then we're going to come over to battery select 1. We put it in, or battery select right here, put it in the 1 position. And we're just going to come down here and look at our battery voltage. And we're looking at 25.0. That checks, and then we'll go over to battery 2. and we're getting 25.0, and that's what we want to do. So just a quick interjection here. Obviously, when you start a turbine engine, and you're going to notice that the startup technique is just about the same here as it was on the, if you watched anything on the, like the Cessna Caravan, quite frankly, it's about the same as on the helicopter. You're going to look around to get 12 to 15% of N1 or NG before you introduce fuel. Because what's actually happening is as the engine starts to turn, it's bringing in a lot of air with it. And that air is what, I mean, I know it sounds probably silly, but that's what cools the turbine engine. Because once those igniters start to go off and then you get a self-sustaining combustion, it really is as it was described to me when I was going through my A-star transition in the helicopter, it's really just a donut of fire. And the only thing that's preventing it from literally melting the engine is that airflow that goes around it. That engine, unlike your car engine, it is a very thin, like titanium, about literally almost the thickness of a Coke can, maybe slightly thicker, but not much. And so if that donut of fire ever touches the engine or the hot section, it'll melt right through. So it's really important that you have that airflow, and the battery checks are important because that's the only thing that's spooling up the engine. Unlike in the A-Star, in the A320 that I fly, we can't start those big engines off the battery. We either need the APU, which is providing electrical power to the aircraft, but more importantly is also providing the pneumatics for the engine to start. And if the APU is deferred, then we have to bring in like a really large, huffer car is what we call them, just an air car to come in there and drive those engines so you don't end up burning something up. And so that's why, they're going to see a couple times where we're checking battery voltages and stuff like that. I don't know if you would actually potentially have an issue here, but I know that they do model, Black Square does, battery voltage and drop. So let's say you were flying at night and you've got all the lights turned off and you walk away. Could you end up in a situation where your battery voltage drops too low to start the aircraft? I think probably in the Black Square, that would probably be something real. So anyways, that was like a little bit of a talk on why we do a couple things, or what we're kind of looking at, or generally when you're starting turbine aircraft. And it really doesn't matter whether you're doing in a helicopter. Like I said, it's about 12 to 15%. The only difference I've noticed in all the planes I have flown, they're not self-modulated, right? So we're going to, at some stage, we'll come down here and we're going to bring those condition levers right into the run position. When I was flying like the A-Star or the Jet Ranger, I would literally have to manipulate the throttle back, forth to make sure I didn't exceed my inlet turbine temperature or anything else. Anyways, we're getting kind of taken away from there. Anyways, we'll come down to the fuel pumps, and we're going to look down at the left and right. We'll hit AUGs, and then we can see the slight pressure increase. Then we'll go to wing pump. Once again, see the pressure increase, and then back to off. And same thing for the right. Increase, increase, and then back to off. All right, so now we're getting ready to get started here. So the procedure, once again, and before we get started, let me point out a couple things, just so if you're new to the turbine or what things you want to look at. At the very top is torque in pounds, foot-pounds. That is going to be really what we're going to be concentrating mostly on as we are flying the aircraft, right? We're taking off. The next below it is ITT. That's the one, and below that is NG, or sometimes called N1, just depends on how they're framing it. Those are the two gauges you want to look at during the engine start. So the procedure is going to be, we are going to go ahead and start the engine once we get to about 15% on the NG, so the third one down. We will then come down here. We will take the condition lever and put it forward. That will light off the engine. We will continue that till you get to about 54% on the NG. And then we will take the igniters off and then become self-sustaining. So what you're kind of looking at is both the NG and the ITT and you're looking to avoid an overheat on the ITT. This is my third flight in the aircraft. I haven't seen any reason why it would overheat, but theoretically, if you're getting into like a study level aircraft or even more than this, or you have to self-modulate, 15% N1, and like once again, it's the same in the helicopter. It was roughly 12 or 14%, I think, when I was starting like a Jet Ranger. I'd be holding the igniters down until I got to, I don't know, roughly probably 40% or 50%. I can't even remember. It's been a long time. And then you release that as you're modulating. So that's really, you're going to see that almost every single aircraft you fly. All right. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to come down here and we're going to put the right, we'll start off, I'm sorry, the left. We'll start off with the left starter in the on position. Once again, come down here and check, make sure we have at least 25 on the bus. Sorry. Hopefully I can cut that out so you don't hear the complete brain meltdown. And then we're just going to go ahead and get started. All right, so let me get my hand in the right position. We'll even open up this window. And here we go. So we'll just come down here, click starter on. Get that nice, wonderful sound. Everything starts to spin up. That's going. Now we're looking at our NG, coming up on 10, 11, 12, 14, 15. We'll bring in the fuel.
Your flight will be monitored until you land and shut down the engines.
Now we're looking around for 54%. Right about there, so we can take the starter off. We'll put the gen off. And igniters off. And now we're just going to wait till the engine comes up and stabilizes. So once again, we talked about top of the torque, then ITT, then NG, and then below that is going to be our prop. And below that, we can see fuel flow in gallons per hour and fuel pressure. So right about there, I think right about 1,000 RPM or so, ITT 600. And now we're going to do the exact same sequence for the right-hand side. Igniters to on. Come down here, starter to on. And now we're watching that engine starts to spin. All right, 15%. Got a light off. Looking at ITT, it's coming right up to the red line. Temperatures begin to stabilize. NG is stable. Igniters to off. And then gen to on. From here, we're going to do what we normally do, which will be master battery or avionics power inverters. Come down here. Depends on I believe it says as needed, but if you wanted down here, we'll go ahead and just pop them on. Left, right magnetos if you're expecting. And the general rule for us, I believe it probably is about the same here. Anything less than 10 degrees Celsius and visible moisture, you're going to want to have your anti-ice systems on, right? So you can either, this would be your pitot heat. You can put your prop heat on. And as you're doing this, what you're actually checking is the windshield heat here. So you're just checking all the amps, make sure that works. You can leave that stuff off. The fuel vent is off. We'll leave and while we're down here, let's go ahead and turn on our taxi light so we don't get dinged for that. And most importantly, or one of the most important things, pitch trim to make sure that we in fact can use our autopilot correctly. All right, so that's pretty much the start of the aircraft. There's a couple other things we could do in terms of the runoff. I don't really think we're going to gain a lot out of that, so I think I'll probably just skip that. But right now, I'm just going to make sure I can get the flight plan into the aircraft, and then I'll bring you back. We'll pick up the ATIS. We're still using Beyond ATC. We're using the FSLTL, I think that's what it's called, the traffic injectors. I'm not expecting to see anything up here, obviously, because we are, once again, in Nowheresville, Scotland. But I'm expecting as we get into Glasgow, we'll get some better traffic injection. Also, we all know that Beyond ATC, it is if you would like to use the premium voices, there is a fee. And so I did this route from Glasgow up here on the last flight. Just so you know, I went through about a little bit less than 5,000 total characters. Obviously, when you get up here into northern Scotland, where there's nothing but sheep, probably not a tremendous amount. I'm sorry, as I'm talking, it annoys me. Not a tremendous amount of traffic up here. I believe Beyond ATC says you can expect anywhere from 5 to, let's say, 10,000 characters per flight of the premium voices. I just had to top up. I bought 250,000 characters for about $10, $9.99. So that's roughly, I mean, I'm a Marine, so I don't know math very well, but even I can tell you that's roughly 25,000 characters per dollar. And so at 5,000 characters, you're looking, that was about a 20-cent flight. So on average, you're looking to spend approximately 20 to 40 cents per flight. That's obviously in US dollars or freedom units. I cannot tell you what it is in shillings, farthings, pounds, euros. I'm not sure if anyone actually knows what that is. And so that's the cost. Obviously, that's, once again, you can run Beyond ATC without the premium. But I think once it does, one of the things that I think it does very well is the premium voice modeling. It will tell you if you do Beyond ATC and you're getting the program and you do the top off, that they make no profit. That's literally what they have to pay the voice models. All right. Anyway, so let me cut you out right here. Let me jump in and get my flight plan all set up, and I'll bring you back as we pick up the ATIS.
Benbecula Airport information Alpha 1 2370, wind at 295 at 8, visibility 10 miles or more, scattered at 2,900, temperature 17, dew point 13, QNH 1013, VFR conditions, landing and departing runways 2435, transition level 030, advise on initial contact you have information Alpha.
All right, so luckily everything looks like it synced up really easy for me. I don't know if you remember the last flight, I had to manually put everything in. I don't know what the difference was. Who knows? Anyways, let's go ahead and grab our clearance. Good afternoon, Tower. Logan 410, IFR clearance back to Glasgow with information Alpha.
Logan 410, Benbecula Tower. Thanks for information, Alpha. Expect runway 24. Climb flight level 060 on runway centerline. Then expect radar vectors Togmo. Squawk 5524.
And Logan 10, we can expect runway 24. Climb 060. Runway centerline, radar vectors Tembo, squawking 5224.
Negative, squawk 5524.
Squawk 5524, Logan 410.
Negative, squawk 5524.
Squawk 5524, Logan 410.
Logan 410, read back correct. Call me back when ready for start or taxi.
Logan 410, call you back for the taxi. All right, so let's come up here, turn that on, or you can go through here. So 5524. 4. And we are in out. Let's get that on. And then 060. And we're going to want 24 dialed in. Pretty simple. And let's get ready to go.
All aircraft be advised, information Bravo now current, QNH1013.
One other thing we're probably going to want to do here, before we get started here, is we'll go ahead and open up the oil doors for the climb out. I don't think we need the ice deflect on. All right, we are ready to go. Because there's really not much of a run-up. Benbecula Tower, Logan 410, ready to taxi.
Logan 410, runway 24 taxi via Alpha.
Runway 24 via Alpha, Logan 410. All right, let's unpause that. It's really pretty simple out of here. I'd show you the chart, but there's really not much to look at. Let's go ahead and drop the brake and get out of here. One thing you will notice on the turbine is it really wants to get up and go. Let's go ahead and close that before I forget. If you remember from the piston turbine, taking off with that open will result in a crash. And this is it. This is Alpha. So you can see I'll just take my feet off the pedals and it really will start to move. So one of the things you'll just have to gradually or continuously kind of brake yourself. And we'll just turn landing lights on since we're on the runway, which is actually what my procedure is when I'm in the 320. I turn every single light on so everyone can see me crossing a runway. All right, just got to go down there and turn around. And I think we will be ready to go. Not much exciting things happened at work. Just a complete, both days. I flew twice this week on a 2-day trip, and just a complete disaster in terms of like all the scheduling. Just delayed every single day was delayed. I was leaving LaGuardia, and it literally took me an hour after requesting the taxi they pulled us out immediately from our parking spot, and it took like an hour just for us to get out into the line, just sitting there for like a solid hour. And then after we got into line, it was another hour 15 before we actually made it to the runway. So it was a long day. We were supposed to depart at like 5 a.m., but we didn't get in till 11 p.m. the night before, so we needed our required rest, which means we couldn't even report till 9 o'clock. So I feel bad for the passengers. They were all probably there at like 4 o'clock in the morning. We didn't roll in until about 9:30, so they were already on a 5-hour delay. And then, get in there and you just sit on the aircraft for like 2 hours. Thought there might be a riot. Luckily, there was not. All right, coming down here to the end. So one thing as I make the turn here, I have noticed in the 2 flights I have done, I'm using once again the Honeycomb Bravo. But if I go full forward, I will 100% over torque. Not even close. Like, it will definitely over torque. And right down here, you'll get a message saying exceedance. So my procedure now, we'll see how well it worked. It kind of didn't work yesterday because I think I was a little bit too high, is I'll go ahead and bring the throttle all the way up, and then I'll release the brakes. That way I can make sure I'm not using too much power. And I think, was it the Banderanti? Like, I couldn't hold brakes and go to full power, just start to creep forward. So far in this aircraft, it seems to be okay. So let's go ahead and bring up power nice and smooth. Last time I rode up to about 1150 and I still had an exceedance, which is right at like 1220 or something like that. So I'm just going to go more like, let's try just like 1100. We'll bring it back just a touch, because that way we might get a slight increase. All right, so power set. Taxiway lights are on, landing lights are on. Pitch trim is on, and we're looking for 6,000 feet. All right, here we go. That was a crappy job as I release brakes. Go back on center one.
Logan 410, immediately stop your takeoff roll. You do not have takeoff clearance.
Well, I think I'm going to take off anyways.
Airborne time log.
That's what I get for starting. Logan 410, sorry about that. Departing runway 24. Oops, too much UPD.
Logan 410, contact Scottish Control 119.875.
$119.875, Logan 410. And that is how you lose your license. All right, let's go autopilot on. Let's go positive rate, gear up. And let's check in. And Scottish Clearance, Logan 410, checking in with you, 2,500, climbing 6,000.
Logan 410, Scottish Control. Good day, radar contact. Climb to flight level 100.
Flight level 100, Logan 410. Just kind of embarrassed about the...
Logan 410, turn left, heading 145. Expect further clearance in about 15 miles.
Left turn heading 145, Logan 410. All right, just slide that right on over. So it advertises for the climb out, you're looking for about 140 knots or so. You can see at 140 knots, I'm getting still almost 3,000 feet per minute. So you could easily, if you wanted to, come down here and just pitch trim down just a touch to make it a little bit more comfortable. Also, as we continue to climb, we're just going to have to watch our power setting. We've got in there about 1070. We could bring it all the way up to 1200, but at 2,500 feet per minute, I think we are doing really, really well. And unfortunately, my battery in my headset is dying. So,
Logan 410, climb to flight level 150.
Logan 410, climb flight level 150. All right, let me put that in there, 150, and let me see if I can do a real quick battery change before it completely shuts off. All right, real quick battery change. I violated my own rules, which
Logan 410, turn left, heading 130.
Left turn headed 130, Logan 410. All right, above 10,000 feet. Take this back off here, and we can turn our that stuff off. Can't believe I took off without clearance. I feel like a dumbass. All right, you can see our torque is starting to come down a little bit as we just kind of increase in altitude, so we'll just kind of bring it right back up. Obviously, cabin temperature is low because I was busy yippee yakking, so we'll go to auto heat on. Hopefully that's enough. And one thing you're going to notice here as we start to level out, and I'll just talk about it right now, is if we look at our airspeed indicator, you're going to see that we have a VNE of just about 200 knots. And in the piston version, I think it was up like 235. So between 200 and 235, it was the VA, the yellow maneuvering area, right? Which I told you you're absolutely okay to maneuver in. Apparently when they do piston conversions of, or turbine conversions of piston planes, that VA area, that maneuvering area is removed. And so our VNE is going to be 200 knots. So actually a little bit slower than the piston version. And the other thing is that once we get to cruise, what it wants us to do is around 1150 torque pounds and 200 on the RPM. And I will tell you, probably at this level, we will probably 100% exceed VNE. So you're probably not going to be able to get that 14 climbing 15. So we will just kind of adjust and we'll bring it right up to as close to red line as without exceeding it. And if it does exceed, the first thing you're going to get is just an annoying sound, deep, toned, that continues and does not stop. So I'm just going to leave in here around 1,000.
Slogan 410, clear direct hold mode, Resumo navigation.
Direct Tombo, Logan 410. Trying to get all these. All right, so got that. All right, let's get us heading in the direction we need to go. Do that. So we'll activate the leg. Yep, let's do that. And we will come up here and hit nav. Now let's take a look at the map and see where we are at. Follow the radar vector. Alright, so we can go like this. We'll find our radial, right on our radial. So we can go directly there. Just activating leg. We'll probably just go direct to, but I don't feel like messing with that. So right up 200 knots, we're going to have to pull back just a tad. Like 1,000. And then we'll come down and bring our props from 2190 down to about 2,000 or so. Should help with a little bit of our fuel flow. Around 900 foot-pounds, 2,000 on the RPM. Just adjust the other one here. We don't have prop sync like we had on the piston version. All right, there we go. So we are set up en route. And in just a couple seconds here, I'm expecting to nav towards our waypoint. Doesn't look like it's doing that. That's interesting. All right, let's see if we can work this out together. Let's go back here. Back. Flight plan. That should get us en route to Tombo. Activate leg. Yes, we would like to activate that leg. This is interesting. It's not picking it up. There. I mean, we could fly it this way, but I need to actually pick that up. All right, well, I'll figure that out as we get out of here. We still got like 25 miles. I've got a feeling what's going to end up happening is it's going to, you can kind of go direct to it, and then it will probably pick up the next en route waypoint. Yeah, you see that? It's in purple. So what the computers decide to do is pick it up from Tombo. So all right, well, I will unsort this mess and I will join you back as we're probably getting a little closer, or if there's any more traffic for you guys to listen in on. But right now we are heading in towards Tombo. I'm expecting the Bruce 1G star, which is really just one fix, brings us down to like 9,000, and then we'll be doing the ILS 5 into Glasgow, and when I departed it was IFR, so we'll see if it kind of continues all the way in. All right, everyone, I will see you in just a few seconds.
Logan 410, Scottish Control, expect Bruce 1 Golf, runway 05.
Logan 410, expect Bruce 1 Golf, runway 5, Logan 410. All right, folks, I am back with you. No matter what I did, I could not get the nav to pick up. It will not do it. I've tried different legs, so I'm not sure if I'm glitched, if it's some sort of issue or a failure I'm having. I can probably pull out the EFB and check. I don't see any circuit breakers out that would cause that. Not going to worry about it, though. If you see here, we just entered a cloud, and if we look down at our temperature, you can see it's about 1-2 degrees Celsius. So we'll just come down here and pop on our windshield heat, fuel vent heat, and left and right prop. We could also cycle the boots if we thought it was getting bad out there. We'll just take a real quick look. And we're coming up on Bruce. So I'm just going to have to kind of manually do it. Not the end of the world, but for someone like me who wants to be lazy. And actually, we'll make the turn, and then we will start the brief to get us down. I think
Logan 410, Bruce 1 Golf, runway 05. Report ready for descent.
Logan 410, we are ready for descent.
Logan 410, descend to flight level 090.
Descend flight level 090, Logan 410. So we'll just have to be a little multitasked here. We're just down to 9,000. Getting ready to come down. And a little bit more. Seems to have lined up a little bit there. Just doing that. All right, let's pull out some power. Let's bring it down back. I don't know. See if I get this autopilot to work now. All right, then we'll put in attitude. And you can't see my cursor, but obviously we can come down and check out this view here and move everything. But there is, if you take your cursor and move it right over here is the change knob, and just up to the numbers, you can see, you can actually check our VSI, you can go use it that way. Obviously, that wouldn't work in the real world. This is just something that to make your life easier. Obviously, like this instrument paddle up here, this is just an annunciator panel, but it's functional and the same thing. So once again, you won't be able to see my cursor, but just to the right of 9,000, that last zero, you run your cursor over there, I get a little hand signal, and I can then, it just makes it a little bit easier for if you need to stay aware of what's going on without having to come down here, look, guess what's happening in terms of your VSI, come back up here, look. So another little useful feature. All right, as we head down, let's go ahead and turn on our landing lights. We're below 18. Make sure our nav lights are on. And we'll just increase our descent right here just a little bit more. It's very sensitive. Airspeed looks good. We are on course to flyer. And let's go ahead and pull up our EFB. All right, so we're inbound from Bruce. We're inbound to flyer. And if we see, zoom in just a little bit more, it's showing us flyer at 9,000, which is what we have set, so that looks good. And then we have the next fix will be Clyde. We'll get a radar vector at some point. There's nothing on this star that's really particularly difficult. We have no bottom altitudes other than what we're doing right now. Max 230, which we're not going to hit, and 9,000. All right. Let's go approach, and let's plan for ILS 5. All right, so here's the dark. Just trying to zoom in a lot. You guys can see it better. All right, so we're looking at a localizer frequency of 110.1 and a final approach course of 048. So let's get that dialed in right now. And 110.1. Let's transfer that. All right, so that's set. Front approach course will be 2,400 feet. Airport elevation is 26 feet, so we want to be fully configured at 1,100 feet on speed by about 600 feet or so, no later than.
Logan 410, lead finer heading 145, expect radar vectors for ILS runway 05.
Heading 145, expect radar vectors ILS runway 5, Logan 410. All right, so we'll get 145. And once you do that, after you've been pulled off the arrival, go ahead here, just go to VLOC, because we don't need nav anymore. Which never worked for us anyways. All right. There's a whole missed approach procedure in there. I don't think we're going to cover that. We've done that enough times. Look at the plan view. We've got the highest obstacle is located about 8-9 to the west of the airport. Won't be a factor. Looking at the profile view, final approach fixed, 7.3 DME out, 048. We have that dialed in, 2,400 feet. We'll hit the glide slope intercept. Coming down there, we should see Pappy's on the left. High intensity lighting system.
Logan 410, contact Glasgow, approach 119.1.
119.1. Logan 410. Good afternoon. Glasgow approach, Logan 410. Checking in with you, 9,500 for 9,000.
Logan 410 Glasgow approach, QNH 1011. Expect radar vectors for ILS runway 05.
QNH 1011. Expect radar vectors, ILS runway 5, Logan 410. 10 11.
Logan 410, turn left, heading 135. Vectors for the approach.
Left turn heading 135, Logan 410.
Logan 410, descend to 4,000 feet, QNH 1011.
Descend 4,000 feet, QNH 1011, Logan 410. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on down. Back to attitude. And definitely at least 1,000 feet per minute. All right, and I think that's it. We'll have a minimums 200, 226 aero or 200 on the RA, which is already set. All right, and then I think once we get down there, probably will ask us for a landing spot. So once again, we'll come here, select charts, and now we're always looking for the taxi. 10-9, that up. And landing runway 5, we can probably expect a turn down there by Bravo 1 Alpha, and then we'll just park someplace in the ramp. All right, so right hand turn off at Alpha, taxi in, find a parking spot, call it a day. Get rid of that. That's where we're at. All right, looking good. I don't know, what do you guys think? I think the Beyond ATC is, I don't know, I really enjoy it. Once again, we'll probably next flight we'll switch back over to say intentions just to give everyone equal access, so to speak. But I think for 20 cents a flight, 30 cents a flight, 40 cents a flight, I don't think that's crazy. I don't know if I'd do it every single flight, but I definitely think for what we're doing here for this playthrough, I think it's very nice. I really like the voice modeling, but obviously we're paying a premium for that, which is 20 cents to 40 cents a flight. So interesting, yesterday I came in up to Benbecula, whatever. It was a VOR approach. I tried to use the approach mode and it didn't pick it up, which I'm a little bit surprised about. You'd think that should be able to pick it up, no problem. Or that would be a functional thing. So I don't know. I've definitely had some issues with navigating in the turbine here, which I never had with the piston version. So we'll use this as our backup here. 04, 08. So I'm interested to see how we do in terms of how accurate or we can even get approach mode to work. Tab off, like that. I did a couple things. I recycled the autopilot. I went back and forth across the fix a couple times off camera. I changed different legs, so I'm not sure why it's doing what it's doing. Aviate, navigate, communicate in that order, so it's not a big deal. Minus the taking off without a takeoff clearance. That was embarrassing. Alright, just turn my camera on here, unpause it, reset. All right, 5,000 descending 4. $110.1, that checks. And we can verify it there. We can also verify it down at the DMV. It says we're our 12.2.
Logan 410, turn right, heading 155, descend to 3,000 feet.
155 down to 3,000, Logan 410.
Negative, turn right, heading 155.
Right turn heading 155, Logan 410. What I was saying is you can check down the DME. You can see we're about 11 miles out from the fix.
Logan 410, 3 miles from CF05. Turn left, heading 09 or 5. Maintain 2,400 feet until established. Cleared ILS runway 05.
Left turn heading 095. Descend and maintain 2,400 feet until established. Cleared for ILS runway 5, Logan 410. All right, let's see if we can approach. We'll pick it up and glide slope. All right, that works. And let's start getting the aircraft kind of prepped. We've still got 11 miles out, so I don't think we need to get too crazy here in terms of slowing down, but 3,400 for 24.
Logan 410, contact Glasgow Tower 118.805.
Logan 410, contact Glasgow Tower 118.805. Good afternoon, Logan Tower. Let's try that. Good afternoon, Glasgow Tower, Logan 410, checking in with you, 2,500 feet for the ILS runway 5.
Logan 410, Glasgow Tower. Wind 085 at 7. Runway 05 cleared to land.
Runway 05 clear land, Logan 410. All right, so the speeds are going to be about the same for gear and flaps, which is 174 knots. So we have picked up the glide slope. We're looking good, so let's bring in now our first notch of flaps. Bring our props forward. We need to do a go around. All right, 1,400 feet. Like we configured about 1,000 feet above. And second notch of flaps. Looking for right about 100 knots or so. Look down. Landing lights are on. Anti-ice stuff, don't need it.
Easy 81 Charlie Victor, holding short, runway 05. Easy 81 Charlie Victor, hold short of 05, arriving traffic. Roger, hold short of 05 for traffic, Easy 81 Charlie Victor.
Landing time log.
Easy 81 Charlie Victor, runway 05. Line up and wait.
Is how you land an airplane.
Line up and wait. Runway 05, Easy 81 Charlie Victor. Logan 410, exit right at Alpha 1.
Right turn Alpha 1, Logan 410.
Easy 81, Charlie Victor, Glasgow Tower. Wind 085 at 7, runway 05, cleared for
Let's
takeoff.
clear the runway, but getting past the whole
Runway
short arc.
05, cleared for takeoff. Easy 81 Charlie Victor.
Then we can bring up our flaps.
Logan 410, contact ground 121.705.
Contact ground, decimal 121.705, Logan 410. Let's get our taxi light on, landing light off.
Negative, ground on 121.705.
Ground on 121.705. I feel like I said
Speedbird
that.
7 Zulu. Glasgow ground, expect runway 05. Tower 6, Bravo departure. Squawk 1162.
Tower 6 Bravo departure. Squawk 1162. Speedbird 7 Zulu.
Speedbird 7 Zulu. Read back correct. Call me back when ready for pushback or engine start.
Look at me being a good pilot here and waiting,
Wilco.
as opposed to taking off without
Speedbird 7
clearance.
Zulu.
Ground Logan 410 for taxi.
Speedbird 7 Zulu. At gate 19er, request pushback and engine start.
Logan 410. Welcome to Glasgow. Say parking or advise if need assignment.
410, Logan 410, we need an assignment, please.
Logan 410, say again ramp number.
Ramp 1.
Logan 410, ramp 1 taxi via Bravo Alpha Kilo.
Bravo Alpha Kilo for Logan 410. Obviously, I have no idea where that's at.
Speedbird 7 Zulu. Glasgow ground, pushback and engine start approved. Face north.
Pushback approved. Face north. Speedbird 7 Zulu.
Luckily, not a whole lot of space here. There's only one taxiway, so I guess we'll just kind of figure it out. I'll just taxi right in here and call the flight. All right, so some little issues. I took off without a clearance. That was a little bit of dumbassery. And I'm really not sure what was going on with the nav, but we made it work. It's not rocket science. Other than that, I think it's, once again, pretty good flight. I really like the King Air. King Air. Me dumbass. I hated the King Air. I really do like the Duke series of aircraft. You will definitely notice if you move up from the piston to the turbine how much more power the aircraft has. It's noticeably more. All right, so there's Kilo to the left, so I guess that is our ramp 1, so we'll just head that way. I definitely like the FSLTL traffic injection here. We don't have any. There's a Korean Air flying right there. We've got British Airways, Jet2.com, not sure who that is. Avianca.
Speedbird 7 Zulu, ready to taxi
Definitely
to
adds to the
reactive.
immersion, and I have looked at. I created a VATSIM account
Speedbird 7
to
Zulu.
try to
Runway
maybe
05
demo
taxi
that.
via
And it's just
Lima.
going to be hard
Golf.
trying to find, unless I'm flying right around here in
Runway
like the
05
central,
taxi
like
via
Midlands,
Lima.
London
Golf.
area. It's going to be
Speedbird
very
7
hard
Zulu.
to find coverage. So. All right, so we'll come here. We'll put our parking brake on. Turn off all of our lights except for beacon. Cut power.
Engine off, time logged. The flight is finished.
And once again, everyone, I
It has been
appreciate
monitored
all
by
your support.
OnAir.
Thanks for joining me today. Leave a comment down in the description. As always, join my Discord, talk a little crap, have a good time, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care for now. Bye.